Here in just a minute. Oh, Kevin from Belmont, California. Good to have you with us. And another California, Chula Vista. So as everybody's getting going here, we want to welcome. There's somebody from the other side of the nation, from Pompano Beach, and Andrews, Texas. Hello, West Texas. Good to have everybody from West Texas. And Krissa, we are really enjoying having Micah Gaudet with us each month to talk about AI in some form or fashion. And this is one I'm really excited about because public works, we all is by definition, it's for the public. It's for all of us. And, we enjoy it in our city and cities that we're around. But sometimes public works can be a little bit reticent to embrace new things. So what are you looking for to hear about from this particular webinar, Krissa?
Well, I will say it does not matter what industry focus we have when it comes to Micah's presentations. I always walk away with new knowledge. So I'm always appreciative to see the tools and then the application of those tools as well. And I agree, Mike, we had a city manager here who used to say public works is really the heart of a city. Because really at the end of the day, the city was developed to maintain streets and water and wastewater. And so public works is really crucial, obviously, to serving the public and a community. So I'm excited to get to meet with some of them today and say thank you for what they do.
Yeah, you're really right. That not only are they the heart of it, but we all experience and enjoy and use all of what they do.
Yes, very much.
Sometimes they're also under the magnifying glass a little bit. So hopefully today Micah is going to be able to share some things that'll be helpful for them. And with that, Micah, we want to welcome you to another webinar. For those of you who don't know, Micah Gaudet is the Deputy City Manager in Maricopa, Arizona. And ever since ChatGPT exploded on the scene, Micah has become the front runner when it comes to the use of AI in local government. And he has done a fantastic job in using these webinars in keeping us apprised of what's taking place, how we can use it. He's also an author about the use of ChatGPT and is a great leader. And so, Micah, welcome. And we're glad to have you. And we want to turn it over to you and look forward to what you have to share with us today.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, Krissa and Lisa as well, too, for putting these webinars on. They're always informative, and I always know I'm going to do on a Wednesday around 9 o'clock my time is watch one of the Wednesday webinars. They're always insightful and happy to be able to participate. I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get started with a little presentation to give you a brief overview about generative AI for public works. So let me grab this here. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Hopefully everybody here can see that slide. I think we're rock and rolling. Double check here. Yeah, we're rock and rolling now. Okay. Generative AI for public works. And I know this is kind of it can be at times kind of a weird thing to have, right? Just because public works is such a manual process, a lot of things we do, right? So far, I've not seen an AI tool that can replace potholes. I've not seen an AI tool that actually does some of the real work of curb and guttering and things like that. But there's different ways in which we can use AI in public works to augment the things that we're doing and allow ourselves to have more time to do a lot of that other more labor intensive work that public works does. So some of the things we can use AI for are things like job descriptions. Across the landscape of city government and local government in particular, the public sector broadly speaking, we need good, talented people, right? We need good people to come work for us and do the real work. And that starts with a quality job description to attract the right candidate and attract the right talent to come into our city and to do the real work of a city government. Other thing as well is, with Public Works, a lot of what Public Works does is contracted out, right? You think about the different road repairs that we do, or building some kind of infrastructure project, whether it be a road or a bridge, repairing something. A lot of that is done through third-party contractors, which is where your RFPs and RFQs come in. So being able to augment and speed up that process through AI can be a huge time saver. Other one too is, like any of the other departments, sometimes you have to get in front of city council and give a presentation, right? Give a presentation on a new road project you're doing. Give a presentation on a a capital improvement purchase that you might be looking at for your city public works department. So being able to, instead of having to spend a whole day creating this presentation, we can do this with AI and create basic presentations for ourselves here. And the third and final thing we can do, or fourth and final thing, this is not an exhaustive list at all. These are just ways to kind of get your creative juices flowing and to start thinking through different ways that you can maybe use generative AI in ways that I've not thought of before. So that fourth way is document review. And I say document, really you could just put data review, broadly speaking, right? Whether it be some kind of new law that occurred that might impact your department, some data from, say, the Federal Highway Administration, things like that. We can pull some data in and do some analysis there too as well through generative AI. So for the sake of this demonstration, not sure if we'll get to all three of these tools, but just for your recollection, here are the three tools that I think are very, very valuable. ChatGPT, obviously, kind of the what I call the Kleenex of AI, right? We don't ever call things tissue paper. It's all Kleenex, the brand name. So ChatGPT is a very valuable tool. There's a lot of features on this. I'll probably be predominantly showcasing ChatGPT in this webinar here today. The second one is Claude. Claude is really good for content. So if we're writing a job description or things like that, it can be very, very valuable. And the third and final tool that I think is very helpful is Perplexity, which is kind of like a Google on steroids. We'll probably start off with Perplexity in our demonstration just to kind of show you what that looks like, because then we can bring some stuff from there into ChatGPT, and I'll show you how to kind of combine these things together. Like any other tool, there's not a one size fits all, right? It's not a matter of, always using a hammer, even when you have a screw or things like that. You got to use the right tool for the right job. And so play around with these different tools on your own and see what fits for you, and then use tools that are appropriate to each task there. And finally, some prompting tips for any of us who are maybe new to generative AI or just getting started or want a quick refresher on prompting. And that is, be specific. So we want to be specific in what we're looking for. We want to provide some context, because the ChatGPT doesn't know you outside of the context you provide. Now, I'll tell you this, it's very good at starting to learn who you are through your different promptings and different things you've done for that. In fact, just yesterday, I was doing a little conversation on ChatGPT, and it said, before I've talked about how I'm a deputy city manager and I want information on this. And so it responded back to me as, oh, okay, as a deputy city manager, here's what you'd be looking for. So in that case, it wasn't as helpful because I was talking about something completely different. In fact, I was talking about how to improve my baseball swing. So as a deputy city manager, I had nothing to do with my baseball swing. And that baseball swing was not improved at all, despite ChatGPT's best efforts. So just provide some context of what you're actually looking for. Otherwise, we'll probably go off the rails a little bit there. Other thing is to ask single questions, right? We don't want to ask it a bunch of different things and then overload the system. So ask a single question. We can always add the follow-on questions as we go throughout the prompting or throughout the conversation. Another one is use it to brainstorm, use it to come up with ideas and things like that. We'll play around with that a little bit here today. And then just experiment and iterate, right? Don't look at this as you're going to achieve 100% solution. I like to say that ChatGPT or generative AI gives me about a 70% solution 70% of the time, which is great because 70% of a solution is a significant amount of time saved. So that's nothing to thumb your nose at or anything like that when it comes to a 70% solution. But we're not going to go in there expecting it to be the end all be all with anything. We're going to use it, and we're still going to leverage our human expertise and things like that from the real people who know how to do the real work. We're going to leverage that human in the loop concept as well. So with that being said, I'm going to see if I can go over here. Perfect. We're on ChatGPT. And what we're going to do here is we're going to run through a couple scenarios of ways that we can use generative AI. Now, for this first couple things, we're going to be I'm using the 4 Omni version. You could use any of these different ones here, the legacy model or things like that. The legacy model is going to be your free version. I pay for the ChatGPT Pro version, but we can do the same thing in ChatGPT 4, which would be your free version. I'll do that here. So let's say that we want to create a job description for a streets maintenance worker for the city of Chula Vista. And we want this person to be able to start, and we want to have a good streets maintenance worker that we can build this program up here. So I'm going to say I am a public works director for the city of Chula Vista, California. I want to create a job description for a streets maintenance worker. So it's going to be a draft job description for a streets maintenance worker for the city of Chula Vista, right? Pretty generic. This may or may not be within the right formatting or anything like that for the city of Chula Vista. I apologize. I keep going back to Chula Vista or Chula Vista. If I'm butchering your name, I apologize there. So pretty basic, right? That's not going to wow you away here, but pretty basic here. So let's do this here though. I'm going to go back over this tab and I'm going to open up Perplexity. And this is where the different things come in here. So I'm going to say, find a job description for the city of Chula Vista, California. Okay, and it gives me an idea of where to find this different job descriptions here. And so what we can do is, you can see there's different links here, right? So I'm going to go to the city's jobs portal on governmentjobs.com. And I'm just going to grab a random one here. Let's see if I can find a thing. I'm just going to go to page 8 and randomly grab I don't want a background investigator. Let's do code enforcement manager. Here we go. Here's the whole thing, the benefits and everything like that there. I'm going to print this. So here we go. Here's the whole thing here. Go like this, copy, right click. I'm going to save this as a HTML only page here. I'll just keep it as a HTML only page for the city of Chula Vista here. It's saved. And then what I'm going to go back over here to my ChatGPT window. I'm going to attach that file. I'm going to say, match the formatting to this. And now my formatting and everything is done exactly within the same parameters as that job description for the city there, which is helpful because a lot of times we want our job descriptions to all look the same, have a nice format to it, right? Makes our HR teams happy that way. And so now we have it within the right formatting. We could also do this a step further because we have a job description, but a job description doesn't necessarily get candidates. So we can say, now let's create a job ad for this job description. Make it short and able to post on a social media platform like Facebook. So here we go. Now we have a job description, and we could obviously, we might already have a job description for a street maintenance worker. Most of the time we already do. If we want to update, we could use AI for this. But we could also do the same thing too, where we could upload a job description and have it create this Facebook post for us for a job ad here, which is super helpful, right? It allows us to be creative in how we're doing this, allows us to be excuse me, allows us to save some time here and highlight what we want to highlight. Obviously, we could change different things. We could add different areas. For instance, if we want to say offer here, we could add on here. We could say add a great team dynamic, and it'll add that into the post as well too. So it's really helpful. This is, again, we think about how much time we spend on recruitment or things like that. This can be a great way to speed up our processes. That way we can focus on other things as well too. And again, look at this as we're not necessarily grabbing a 100% solution here, but it gets us 70% of the way, which I think is very, very valuable and something we want to emphasize and iterate there. I'm going to go back over to Perplexity here, and I want to talk about RFPs and RFQs. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to start a new thread and say, I want to find a RFQ for a city wastewater monitoring company. I misspelled monitoring, but it'll be fine for now. So it's going to look at this, going to do some research here. And Perplexity is searching across the internet. So I call it kind of the Google on steroids. It's searching across the landscape of the internet to be able to provide information. As you can see in the previous one, I didn't go into too many details in the previous one. We'll take some more time on it in this round. But what it's going to be able to do is it's going to be able to provide us with actual links that we can go through and actually look at and verify that what we're looking at is what we want to have, right? Compared to maybe other generative AI models or things like that. If I ask for a RFQ, I'm not going to be able to verify that what I'm getting is the right RFQ. It's going to provide me with a basic RFQ, but it might be hit or miss on whether or not I'll be able to verify if it's the right kind of thing here. And it's giving me a little bit of trouble, so let me see if I can start this over here. I'm going to copy this, close it a couple tabs just where I don't have to overload the system here. And let's try this again. There we go. And it messed up on the RFQ, so the request for a quotation. But it'll be fine for now. Here's an RFP for the city of Lewiston, one for the city of San Diego. We can look at here, we can pull this up. And here is a request for proposal, all right here. And here's their whole request for proposal, 39 pages. Let's see what else we have here. There's also other related questions we can do here. So we can say, where can I find more RFPs for wastewater monitoring services? And let's grab another one here. Let's see if we can't find one that's a little shorter in length here for the sake of our conversation. So it says, okay, here's other ways you can find out other types of things here of ways to find wastewater monitoring RFPs there. Let's check the San Diego one. I imagine this will probably be pretty comprehensive. Sure enough, this is 159 pages long. So we'll take this one right here. I'm going to download this. This is the one from the city of Lewiston. So the city of Lewiston here in Idaho. I'm going to download this. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. I'm going to start a new conversation here. And for the sake of this one, I'm going to use the For Omni model here. This is the paid version of ChatGPT. It'll be a little faster. You can do the same thing in the free version of it. You can have limitations on how many prompts with uploads you can do under the free version. For the sake of this, it's also not as fast and it's not as able to build in complex queries there. So for this, I'm going to attach that file that we just downloaded from the city of Lewiston. I'm going to open this one up. And I'm going to say, I am a public works director in Sedona, Arizona. I need to create an RFP for wastewater monitoring. Please create and use the attached as a template. So here we go. It's going to start creating this one here at the introduction and things like that. And create the project background. Obviously, there might be some unique things that you want to add within your project background that's relative to your specific context. If I had that, I would have put that into the prompt. There's also some things too within your RFP or RFQs that might be some boilerplate language that you can kind of just copy and paste that into your RFP. What's going to create this after it's all done, we'll go through and look at the whole thing to see how comprehensive this was able to create for us and to see if we can hit, again, the target number I always go back to is if I can get a 70% solution, that's a pretty good day for me. And then I can obviously supplement my time with other things and police it up when I need to. So here we go. Scope of work. Proposal requirements, evaluation criteria, submission requirements, additional information, right? This is a very basic outline for it, but it gives us that 70% solution for it. If I wanted to add more, I could add more. So I could go back over to this PDF here. I could look at the outline here, and it's very, very similar to the outline created here in the table of contents, right? Purpose and background, instructions to proposer, scope of services, general requirements, proposal requirements, selection and process, and evaluation criteria. So I could say on this one here, let's add a general requirements section. And again, the same thing will give us that outline here, and then it'll give us a general requirement section, which will provide a basic idea of what we want to have there in the general requirement section. Again, very, very helpful, very, very, it can be a very helpful tool to be able to craft this and have this basic outline, especially if you're maybe have a new employee, a new admin staff who's never created a RFP or RFQ before. Instead of handing them a 30-page document and having them figure out, okay, go ahead and figure out where these different sections go, what's appropriate to us. ChatGPT can do some of that work for us, and we can leverage Perplexity. So we can leverage that existing document. So maybe you already have an existing RFP you've already published. You can bring that in as a template for yourself, right? Your RFPs and RFQs have already published. They're already publicly available data. And so we're not compromising any kind of data there, but we're able to create a RFP that matches that same template that we had there. So super, super helpful. And this is where you can use Perplexity and then bring that into ChatGPT and do some really, really cool things. I'm going to go back to Perplexity again here. We'll do another example here, which is kind of a fun one. You know, sometimes within Public Works, a lot of our fleet management comes within Public Works. And so some of the different requests that different department has can be kind of unique, right? And so it can be difficult to see, okay, is this a real thing, or is this, blinker fluid or something like that? So some things that there's different features or different add-ons that city departments have to their vehicles or different needs that they have. And so we can say, I want to find the price of thermal imaging cameras that are NFPA compliant. Thermal imaging cameras are used by fire departments, and to be NFPA compliant means they are IDLH rated, which means they can go into different hazards without the batteries or things like that blowing up. So this might be a unique request or different request that you might have within your fleet and public works departments to be able to say, okay, hey, there's a new request here. Maybe be camera systems for the police department, LED lights for vehicles or different vehicle add-ons. Perplexity, you can have this and kind of get a basic idea of the price here. So here we have it. And again, it's all sourced here, right? So the FLIR FLIR K65, which is fully compliant with NFPA 1801 standards, is priced at approximately $7,700. We can click on this link right here. And sure enough, it's about 7,700 there. So that can be super helpful just because that way we won't have to kind of guess what the price is. So when we're doing something like creating a budget or something like that, or creating putting together our CIP plan with different elements that are included in the CIP plan, we can have a basic idea of what this looks like or what this cost might be. And so we can do the same thing too of what is the average cost of repairing a pothole and let's just grab Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so there's different things too. I'd see potholes for example, but obviously if we're looking at something more comprehensive, like the average cost of a new road or things like that, we do the same thing here. So we have a range between $400 to $500 as reported by individuals who've had to repair their vehicles for vehicle repair. Nationally, the cost of repairing pothole damage can range from $250 to $1,000. And this is vehicle damage, right? So we can say, I want to know the cost of repairing the road with a pothole. So it doesn't give us an exact idea of it, but we can see that in the 2019 budget, Milwaukee allocated about $2.5 million for pothole patching and street maintenance. And again, you can see this from the PolitiFact website here, which here is a little site. So you can go through here and verify, is this an accurate thing or is this just a clickbaity type of article here? So super helpful. We can do different things like that there too. So the last thing we'll do here, we'll do some stuff with some data and things like that we can pull in and get some good insights from Public Works. Obviously, there's a lot of data that actually is in Public Works, something that people don't really think about or realize. You have your wastewater monitoring systems, you have all your traffic cameras or things like that, your road conditions, you have all the different data that comes within your city department, your street maintenance and park maintenance and things like that. There's actually a lot of data within Public Works. So what we're going to do for this is I'm going to start a new chat here. And I have 3 files I'm going to grab here. Let's see if I can upload this from my computer. Bear with me while I grab this. And what these 3 files are CSVs from the FHWA National Bridge Inventory, specifically tailored for the state of Arizona, right? It has different bridge conditions. Now, to speed this process up, I'll tell you a little bit of what I did in the back end. That way, if you want to do the same thing, you can do the same thing on your end. The Federal Highway Administration actually has this in text files. And so what I did was I had to upload the text file and then had it go through and convert it into a CSV file for me in ChatGPT. After I start this prompt, I'll go to my previous conversation to kind of show you really quickly what that looks like in case you're interested in that kind of thing here. So I'm going to say, I want to see the number of bridge conditions that have deteriorated or improved from poor to fair or fair to poor. For bridge conditions, G equals good, F equals fair, P equals poor. And I'm giving that context since I've already seen what this data looks like. The bridge condition field just has GFP. So I'm letting ChatGPT know, okay, that's what those different categories mean. So it's going to write a little Python code from the background to be able to look at this different things, understand the structure. So give me all this different information. And I'm uploading the last 3 years of data, so 22, 23, and the 24 data that it has available right now. It's going to upload this information for me, look at this, and hopefully give me a little bit of a insight into what that looks like. And you can see, you can look at all the different things in the background. So recognize that the column for the 2024 bridge condition is not labeled as expected. It's going to look at that. And there we go. It found the right column for it. And that way you can look at that again. So you can see, even when it doesn't necessarily find that right column, it knows to kind of go through and look beyond there. So we can see here the fair to poor category. There's 9 bridges that went from fair to poor in 2023 to 2024. And so we can say, tell me about those 9 bridges. I can copy this right here, hit this. That way it knows that I'm talking about this particular ones there. It's going to go through and look at those different 9 bridges and retrieve the details of it. That way we can get more information on maybe where those bridges are, what the condition of those bridges are, and different things like that. And we can see all these different ones here, the bridge condition and things like that. We can say, where are those bridges located? So this can be helpful, especially if you're looking at something as comprehensive as the National Bridge Inventory. That can be helpful. That way you can see, okay, hey, how many bridges do I have in my city that might be deteriorating or might be improving or things like that. So it can be super, super helpful to go through and see the different categories and see the different ways in which we can leverage ChatGPT and leverage this data here. We could even do this. We could say, create a visualization of the bridge condition ratings as a time series for the past 3 years. So this can be helpful too, because think about going back to the idea of presentations or things like this. So we can see the number of bridges, the ratings here. We can even do this here too. We can change the colors. So let's say, you know what, these two are a little too similar, and I want green to be good. I want fair to be yellow, and that one to be that way. Let's try this again. Here we go. Do it that way. We can also expand the chart this way. Let's see if I can't do this here. We can also do it this way. We can say, make green, make good, green, fair, yellow, and poor, red. So there's different ways to get around it. And if it's having issues with using the editor there, we can also do this way too. So there we go. Now it's a lot better, right? Now we can see the difference here. Obviously our fair is really light yellow. We could change that to make that orange or something like that. We can also switch this to an interactive chart here too. So we could see that we can have a line here. So a fair here, number of bridges at 247. We do the same thing here at the good line here. We can do things like that. We also switch it back to a static chart. We can download this chart, and then we could obviously put that into a presentation. So we download this chart. It'll download as a PNG file for us. We can upload that into a presentation or anything like that. So super, super helpful to use. The last one we'll do, we got a little bit of time here, so we'll run through this example here as well too. Then ChatGPT is just around the idea of ideas and idea or ideations and come up with good ideas and brainstorming. So we can say, I am a streets maintenance supervisor for the city of Coppell, Texas. I want to create a risk training program to keep our workers safe while doing roadside work. Specifically, let's say grass maintenance in medians. So I'm giving it some context. I'm being very specific about what I'm looking for, the grass maintenance there. And so we can look at this and it'll create a risk training program for us here. Talks about the hazards, emphasize the importance of situational awareness, personal protective equipment, traffic control, and work safety. Talks about the importance of following the manual uniform traffic control devices, guidelines, flaggings, equipment safety, weather environmental considerations, emergency procedures, communication, coordination, ongoing training assessment, and things like that. And so we can even say, is there a little interactive game we can play as a team to reinforce this or train on this? So it talks about maybe creating something like safety hazard bingo or things like that. Materials needed, hazard symbols, whiteboard and notepad for scoring, highlights or markers. And so you can see we took the basic idea of a rather boring training platform and made it a little more interactive, a little more fun, a little more engaging, right? We think about, we want to train based on what our people and what our team members are gonna resonate with. And so maybe in some cases you want to do this as a PowerPoint presentation and a sit down class kind of thing, which can be appropriate and fine. Other times you want to be a little more interactive, right? And so knowing your folks, knowing your people can be really important. And so here is a little game you could play if you want to do a kind of a gamemanship of training. We could also do the same thing too. We could say, create a test for this training that I can use to evaluate whether the core concepts are understood. So the same thing, we could create a little test here too. So road safety training test, multiple choice questions, or things like that here. So it has different, multiple choice questions we can create here too as well if we wanted to do a little training that way. So different ways in which we could iterate, different ways in which we can use this for an idea generation. We could do the same thing too with any other type of training program, right? We could do the same thing with, say, forklift training. We could do the same thing with chainsaws. We do the same thing with PPE, with situational awareness, with driving, with all kinds of different things that we can do using different ideas, and also do things to be a little more interactive. We don't have to do the boring, proverbial death by PowerPoint kind of thing. So there's different ways in which we can use ChatGPT and AI to come up with different ideas and how to prepare and train our teams for success out there too, and doing some of the really important work, like Mike talked about, the really, really important work of city management there. So it's about 9:42. I want to stop and see if there's any questions. I saw a couple come through while I was doing that there. So any questions from anyone at all?
Micah, great job on this. But one question I know that you've probably heard before is, can ChatGPT respond to us positively even if we misspell words and things?
Thankfully, yes. So, because I do misspell some words from time to time. So it absolutely, and we saw that too, right? When I misspelled the word monitoring with the E instead of an O there, it still knew what I was looking for. So even if you misspell the word, it can still pull that up. The only thing to be careful of is sometimes a misspelled word can mean a different word. And so that can mess things up. But even then, it's still based on the context of everything else you said, is able to infer what you're actually looking for, which is pretty powerful.
Okay. Chris, I see we have a couple other questions. I'll let you take the ones that you want from there, and we'll try to wrap up pretty quick. But do you have a question you want to have him respond to?
Yeah, I think this is a really good question that probably a lot of people who are just getting familiar with ChatGPT or some of the other tools have in their minds. But how is this different from doing a Google search, Micah?
So Perplexity is different from Google in the sense of Google, their algorithm is tailored to push results to the top for those who either have paid or have a bunch of SEO management to be able to have their features at the top of the page, right? Many of us aren't going to the 5th and 6th pages of Google. And so what Perplexity does is it brings all those different things, those different sources into one platform and summarizes that all together for me, along with the ability to look at the different links that I have there. So it's much more curated based on what I'm looking for. And I'm not having to sift through a bunch of ads, right? So if I search for RFPs for wastewater monitoring systems, I might get a bunch of ads from companies that do that. And so I can sift through that and look at, okay, I'm not looking for an ad, I'm looking for a sample RFP.
Absolutely. I think it's incredible. Actually, I asked ChatGPT yesterday what the biggest impact of servant leadership was on an organization as far as culture, et cetera. It gave me a list. And then I said, can you prove it? And it gave me sources for each thing that it put on the list. And I was like, this is incredible, and I could have asked Google that and sifted through probably a few pages worth of articles and compiled that. But that compilation is huge.
Absolutely.
We also got a question from Lynette that says, are we able to communicate with you after this session? So I'll put you on the spot with that one, Micah, and let you answer that.
Absolutely not. No, I'm kidding. Of course, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I would love to continue the conversation and continue to learn from each other.
Awesome. I'll drop your LinkedIn profile link in the chat real quick too.
Well, Micah, once again, great presentation. And I think it's one of the most exciting ones because like we've talked about, Public Works touches so many parts of everybody's lives. And it's going to be so interesting. That's such a complex part of local government too. And it's going to be really interesting to see how over the next few years, AI makes that task just a little bit easier. And so we really appreciate it. Some of the people have asked questions about the availability of this webinar. So everyone will receive a link to it if you registered for the webinar, and then it will also be put on the SGR YouTube channel. So you can certainly watch it. We encourage you to do that. Thanks again, Micah, for being with us. We're loving these. Thanks to everyone that has joined us, and we'll see you next time. And thanks, of course, to Krissa and Kim and Lisa, everybody else at SGR that makes this possible. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you down the road.